And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, Tom Vasel here, and today we're taking a look at Welcome to the Dungeon. Welcome to the Dungeon is a small game from IELLO, which is based on an even smaller game from Japan, which players are going to bid on taking a hero through a dungeon. Who's going to take that hero through? This is reminiscent of the Gauntlet of Fools game, which is a game I did not like, although I did like the theme, so I had hope. This is a mini game. I'm not always real keen on mini games. Will I like this one? We shall see. The game comes with 4 different heroes, and each round of the game you're going to use a different hero. Whoever is the adventurer in a round will pick the hero for the next round. So you put whatever hero you've chosen. Here I have the Barbarian, and you put there's 6 pieces of equipment on the table. So he has a leather shield, chainmail, a torch, warhammer, vorpal axe, and a healing potion. You also have these victory point cards here. Each player is given a card that shows them the composition of all the different monsters in the deck. So there's 2 1s, 2 2s, all the way up to 1 9, and it shows what defeats the different monsters. Here is the deck itself, which does the same thing. This deck is shuffled. One player is chosen to go first. That player can either pass, which means they're out of this round, or they can draw a card from the monster deck. Now, when you draw a card from the monster deck, you look at that card, and you will either add it to a pile here, which is going to make up the dungeon, or you can take that card out of the game and put it in front of you. But if you do that, you must also get rid of one of the pieces of equipment that the hero has. So let's say I get rid of his chainmail. So the next player looks at a card, they put it down. The next player puts a card down. The next player takes one out of the game, takes out the vorpal axe. The next person puts a card here. The next person goes here and decides that they're going to add that here. The next person takes this card out of the game, but also takes out the torch. And so now, and let's say everybody passes except for one person. As soon as everyone has passed except for one person, that person is going to be the adventurer. So they get together, they take this dungeon pile, and they're going to go through the dungeon one card at a time. So here, for example, they turn over this. It's a golem. It's a 5. However, they have the warhammer, so the golems automatically defeat it. Hooray. Then they turn over this card. It's a 4. They got nothing that beats this guy. He's beaten by holy water or something, and the barbarian doesn't have that. So the barbarian takes 4 hit points. Now the barbarian has 7 hit points, so he's fine so far. So we turn over another card. It's a 1, and that does another hit point. Now if we had the torch still, we got rid of the torch, then this would be automatically defeated because the torch defeats monsters that are strength 3 or less. But now I have 5 hit points. We turn over this guy, a 6. Well, now we're killed. Because again, this is something that we haven't decided to defeat, so we're dead, but we can use the healing potion to bring us back to 4 hit points. We turn this guy over, who only does 2 damage to us, and we have survived the dungeon, and we get a victory point card. If we had fallen over the course of the dungeon, then you would take your reference card and flip it over. It's the same thing, but it shows that you've taken a wound. You take a wound when you have this one face up, you're out of the game. There are 2 ways to win the game: to eliminate all the other players, or to get 2 victory cards. So here's all the 4 different characters, and whoever, like I said, whoever goes in the adventure picks the next character. And the characters have pretty much a difference. They all have a different number of hit points. The mage has the fewest, but then they have 2 pieces of armor or something that give them plus. So the mage might only have 2 hit points, but he can have 9 more and go up to 11. And then they have different things, like the vorpal dagger. When you decide to go venturing, you pick one monster before you even go into the dungeon, and you automatically beat that. And then they also have the healing potion like the barbarian did. The barbarian has this vorpal axe, which can kill 1 creature. When it shows up, you're like, I'm going to kill this one right now. But you can only use it once. The rogue has something that kills anything that has a 6 or more. Actually, not really killing it, you're evading it. There's the mage has some of the weirdest ones. For example, you can get rid of, with the polymorph, you can get rid of a monster, but then you draw the top one from the deck. Or here, this Holy Grail, which it and the warrior both have, kill even-numbered creatures. Here, this one defeats the demon and the monster after that. Here, if every monster in the dungeon is different, which means there's no duplicates, then you automatically win, even if you die. The warrior has one that automatically kills the dragon. So there's all different things, and each one has a very different feel to it. And usually you're not going to go through the dungeon with all 6 pieces of your equipment. But anyway, these are the different heroes that you can have. Oh, how I love this game. I just adore it. I love everything about it, and I'll tell you why. First of all, the artwork and the tiles here that come with the game are really well done. They have slightly raised printing on them. Everything is just, the artwork looks good. It's easy to read. The game plays very simply. I like how the cards show on them what things defeat each monster. There's no questions. We don't have to look up in the rules what's going on. It's very obvious how to play the game. The game itself is very quick. You're going to sit there and say, okay, I'm in or I'm out. And you, at the beginning, of course, everybody's in, but after a while, you start seeing equipment going away from the adventurer. You start seeing the dungeon pile grow up. You know some of the stuff in that pile, but you don't know all of it, so you're trying to figure out, should I stay in or is it best to get out? And there's certainly going to be incentive to staying in, because if you stay in, you can win the game. But if you stay in, you can also lose the game. This game has player elimination, which is not a problem because the game is that quick. And when a player goes through the dungeon, we're talking like less than a minute. It's boom, 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 did you make it through or not? But of course you can drag it out and make the cards more exciting, but even still, it's a very quick romp through the dungeon. And because of that, and because each of the 4 characters in the game is different, it just plays so well. I've played it with every number of players, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And I like it with all the number of players. With 2, it's just back and forth. You know half the cards in a deck. Are you going to beat the other person? With 5, you only know a little bit about what's going on. But at the same time, you're sitting there going, okay, I'll take the plunge. Watching what the other players put in and what cards they take out. Man, it's very enjoyable. Plays very quickly. And while I'm not a huge fan of the quote-unquote micro game genre, this is probably my favorite. I like this one way better than Love Letter, for instance, because it fits in a lot of situations. It's easy to teach people. You jump in and there's that whole, the last card turning over, killing a character or they beating it, and a lot of cheering and groaning. And everyone's kind of involved. Even when you're not the one taking the adventurer through, you're sitting there wishing calmly that the other person will die a horrible death. And that's just, I don't know, super fun. I'm hoping that they make like more of these that come with 4 more adventures that you can then mix together and match and stuff. But as it is, this is an easy pick for me to keep. I love this little game, and we'll be bringing it with me to a lot of game sessions. Welcome to the dungeon. Dice Tower Judgment into my collection.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Shut the door.
There.